G'day guys and welcome back to your English Aussie. Today I'm going to go through a Wildcard 30 draft for you guys. I really strongly suggest that you do Wildcard in game week 30, regardless of what chips you have left, regardless of your other strategies. Wildcard 30 is the best week to Wildcard. Let me tell you why. Now, first of all, we're going to go through a little bit of the chip strategy and thinking about when the potential blanks and doubles are going to be. If I show you here, double game week 34, blank game week 34, we will know this week before the game week 30 deadline which teams are going to be blanking in 34. Those teams are also going to be doubling at some point between 32 and 36. Therefore, we're most likely going to be targeting those players on a wildcard, regardless of when we're looking to wildcard. Wildcarding later in the season just means that your team is not quite the optimal team, and there are more game weeks where other people can catch up to you. If you do look at a wildcarding in maybe 35 to bench boost in 36, you lose a lot of traction between that 30 to 34 period. If you wildcard in game week 31, again, you're missing out on that game week 30. And when we go through this wildcard team that I'm going to go through for you guys, you're going to see how good the team is in game week 30. And it just gives you a few more options in game week 31. Perhaps you want to bench boost. Perhaps you want to do something else with your team. We will see. So on screen now, you can see sort of my predictions for what potentially might happen, where those doubles might go. This is on the assumption that maybe like Bournemouth win, Crystal Palace win, which potentially may not happen, and I'll obviously update and give another wildcard draft after that stage. But I think now it's essential to play the wildcard and try and pick up on those price changes right now and get these sort of players into your team in advance. That's why I'm hopefully doing this video, to give you guys a head start on those transfers. So let's crack over to the team. And first of all, I'm going to say that obviously Newcastle and Crystal Palace are the confirmed doubles in game week 22, and I'd like to have 6 doublers in that game week 32. So I will start with Henderson in goal for Crystal Palace. He also has a fantastic fixture against Southampton in game week 30, so definitely someone I'd be looking at in that team. If I move on to the defence, I would say one of those defenders I probably like to be a Newcastle. One of them I'd probably like to be a Crystal Palace. Obviously, the Palace fixture in 32, potentially you could go with 2 attackers from Palace, but the only guy I really like going forwards is Mateta, and this man for Crystal Palace is superly attacking, so he could really feature as a winger. Munoz is going to go into that side. He's also got that great fixture against Southampton in game week 30. And then on the Newcastle side of things, I am going to go with Tino Livramento for now. They do have some nice fixtures in both 30 and 31 before the double in 32. So again, another really nice pick. Even if you were to wildcard on 31, you'd probably be looking to have him in there. Finally, we're just going to have a quick look at who the sort of best defensive fixtures that we have coming up over the next few game weeks for these other defenders. And if you do take a look here at my fixture difficulty planner, where I've done my own sort of FDR based off the league table, defensive, the sort of better defenses, worse defenses, etc., which is a bit better than the FPL FDR. It really gives like a little bit more flavour. You can see that Nottingham Forest and Manchester City, as well as Bournemouth, have a really nice run of fixtures defensively. You've also got Liverpool in there, but I think it's difficult to go into that Liverpool defence at the moment, especially with Trent now being out, Robertson and Tsimikas rotating on the left, and Konate not being 100% fit. Perhaps Liverpool may concede some goals over that period of time, as well as if they do wrap up the league, they might start to rotate those players in the future. So looking at this and moving back to our side, I think someone that could be really nice is Josko Gvardiol. It is really likely that Man City will be doubling in game week, or in one of the future game weeks, given that all it takes is for Aston Villa to beat Preston North End in the FA Cup. And if that is the game in game week 34, Man City versus Aston Villa, which will be rescheduled if that happens, or if Man City beat Bournemouth, they will also be doubling at some point. My advice is to free hit in game week 34. I can probably touch on that later in the video as well. It really does make a lot of sense, and I'll go through the game weeks in stages and make you understand that. Outside of Gvardiol, I think I really did like the Bournemouth fixtures over the next sort of 4 or 5 game weeks, and I would like to go with a man who's really in form. Either Kirkes or Hodgson, depending on the price in my team. I think I'm going to put Hodgson in there just at first, just to see if I maybe can upgrade to Kirkes later on. Outside of that, I'm also looking to Nottingham Forest. They have a really nice fixture run all the way to 37. And the guy that I'm going for is going to be Nico Williams. And the reason for that is that Nico Williams has a really good bonus point potential. He looks like if Forest keep a clean sheet, he has that higher base level of BPS out of all of the 4 defenders for Nottingham Forest. So he's the most likely to pick up 3 bonus or 2 bonus or 1 bonus out of the defenders. He's also been getting forwards quite a lot recently, had the most shots out of all of those Forest defenders of late. I did actually go for Milenkovic this week, who did get the goal and assist for Forest, and that was because I thought in a one-off game week he had the greatest chance of scoring from a corner off a header or something like that, and that obviously did pay off. But however, I do think Nico Williams over the long term might be able to accumulate more bonus points in those clean sheets, and that's why I've gone for him. So onto the midfield. And I think the obvious one to everybody is Mo Salah. I think you'd be really stupid to go without him. He's somebody that I'd be looking at captaining in almost every week that there's not any doubles. Outside of that, I would be looking again, hoping that Bournemouth potentially get a double if they do manage to beat Man City in the FA Cup. I would be looking at Justin Kluivert. Really nice form on penalties for Bournemouth. They've been looking really nice lately. If Bournemouth don't manage to beat City and perhaps Brighton beat Nottingham Forest, this could easily become Yakuba Minter, a Kaoru Mitoma, or if Forest go through and are doubling earlier and maybe in 33, maybe it becomes an Anthony Elanga or Morgan Gibbs-White. Outside of that, I would be looking to get at least one Newcastle midfielder in here for the double game week in 32. Given that Anthony Gordon will be suspended in game week 30, I am going to be looking at Jacob Murphy in there. I think he's been in good form for Newcastle. He has been scoring points for them. He has been looking good going forwards. Brentford and Leicester, some really nice fixtures in 30 and 31 for him to hopefully pick up some points as well. Outside of that, maybe we just go back and have a look at the offensive fixture difficulty ratings and who the sort of best teams are looking like over the upcoming weeks. Obviously, you can see here Wolves, Newcastle, Nottingham Forest, Manchester City, maybe Chelsea for a few weeks, and also Brighton. Out of those, obviously, Manchester City most likely to double. At some point, I definitely look to go for one of those guys. Wolves, really, there's nobody I particularly like, despite them having obviously a good win against Southampton this week. With Cunha away, I just not a big fan of any of the Wolves picks, and I think really they're all gambles if you're going for those players. Newcastle, we've already got Jacob Murphy in there. Chelsea, Cole Palmer's definitely a consideration, despite his poor form of late. Brighton, again, as I was saying, Yakuba Minter, Kaoru Mitoma, even Jorginho Ruta all provide really nice options into that midfield. I think what I'm going to go for now, and I'll drop back to the screen, is I am going to go for Savinho of Manchester City. He has started, I think, the last 5 or 6 games for Manchester City, and again Leicester, Man United, Crystal Palace, and then a potential double in those sort of 32, 33 makes him a really nice option for me. Going into the front line, and I think Alexander Isak is a must-have, especially for that double in game week 32. He's definitely somebody that I want into my team. Alongside him, another guy doubling in 32 is going to be Jean-Philippe Mateta. I am expecting him to be fit and available for game week 30, and that would mean he would go straight into my team. Now, when we're looking at sort of the team outside of that, we've obviously got a goalkeeper, a midfielder, and a forward spot to consider. And you're going to have a look at who you think are the teams that are going to be doubling, who you think will be nice players around there, and also the fact that we have 26.9 mil. So in goal, I would be looking at the best defence, in my opinion, which is Nottingham Forest, with the best defensive fixtures, and that is Sells to be sort of a backup keeper for Henderson outside of the doubles and potentially have his own double. For me, I think they rotate really nicely. and do provide you some good options in most game weeks all the way through to 34, 35. In the midfield and forward line, I think this is where potentially it gets a little bit more tricky. I do think one man in particular is very difficult to leave out, and that is Chris Wood. However, I think my plan would be to potentially go without him at the beginning, and then when Nottingham Forest, when their double is confirmed, I would most likely look to get into Chris Wood or potentially an Anthony Elanga, depending on which direction I wanted to go. So if that is the case, and we do, of course, have 21.8 million, I think some interesting options here are obviously a Mitoma, potentially a Cole Palmer, or the one that we haven't spoken about yet in the offense is going to be Erling Haaland. I think he's a real key on this wild card. Obviously, Leicester in game week 30 is one of the big reasons why that wildcard 30 is so appealing if you don't already have Haaland in your side. It's a way to get him into that squad and hopefully allow him to kick on and score some goals and start to show his real talents towards this back end of the season with this fantastic Manchester City fixture run. That leaves one spot in the midfield at around 7 million price point, and I think this is very dependent on which teams are doubling. If Crystal Palace go through, potentially Arsenal double, maybe that leaves a space for like a Nwaneri, Martinelli, someone like that. Saka's obviously looking to sort of come back into the fold at some point. He's definitely somebody that I'd be looking to bring in potentially after the game week 32 double, maybe for Arsenal's, if Arsenal double in 33, I'd look to maybe shift Isak out of the team, bring Saka into the team for one of the midfielders, and go with maybe a Chris Wood or somebody else that's doubling up front. For now, I am going to play it safe, and I'm just going to put Morgan Rogers in there, given that I expect Aston Villa to be doubling at some point, given that I assume they will beat Preston North End and blank in 34. So this is sort of my draft for my wildcard team for game week 30. I think that looks really strong. You've got Southampton, Ipswich, Leicester at the back. Across the midfield, you've got Newcastle v Brentford, Bournemouth v Ipswich, Salah v Everton, Savinho v Leicester. Up front, you've got Erling Haaland v Leicester, Isak v Brentford, and Mateta v Southampton. I think that looks a really nice team. If we move forwards into game week 31, and we sort of put this team as what you'd like to see, you could have Sells in goal v Aston Villa, or Henderson against Brighton could go either way. You've got Bournemouth, Hodgson v West Ham, Livramento v Leicester, and Gvardiol v Man United, all really nice defensive fixtures. You've got Jacob Murphy up against Leicester, Clivert v West Ham, Salah against Fulham, Salah against anyone's great, Savinho against Man United, Haaland against Man United, Isak v Leicester, and Mateta again versus Brighton, I think is a really nice lineup. Moving into game week 32, we of course have 6 doublers now. We have Henderson, Munoz, Mateta. You will also have Livramento, Murphy, and Isak. I think Nico Williams could easily go in there over Gvardiol. And then potentially you have Clivert or Rogers or Savinho, whichever one you want to play in that game week. Otherwise, that looks, again, a very strong team with 3 doublers from Palace, 3 doublers from Newcastle, Nico Williams against Everton, Salah against West Ham, Rogers against Southampton, Savinho and Haaland against Crystal Palace. I think really an excellent week. Moving into game week 33, and this is where it obviously depends on the teams that progress through in the FA Cup, but it does have a potential, if we do play the bench boost here, and potentially even bring in Bukayo Saka if Palace make it through and Arsenal are doubling, we'd bring in Saka for Savinho in that week, or potentially Clivert, depending on who makes it through. And we'd also be bringing in somebody for Isak, depending on, again, who potentially is doubling in this week. Say Bournemouth, Man City, Aston Villa, Crystal Palace, Arsenal are all doubling in this week. We will end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 doublers in game week 33. And I would look to play my bench boost this week, because realistically, if you were on a free hit in game week 33, how many doublers would you have picked? You would still have Mo Salah. So the most you doublers you would have is 10. And easily you could have a couple more transfers. You could put another couple of doublers in this team. You could end up with 11 or 12 doublers in a bench boost in game week 33, which is far better than playing your free hit in game week 33. That just allows you to free hit in 34, where I haven't done a free hit team yet. But that 34 team will obviously be great because you're free hitting into it. And otherwise, if you don't free hit in 34 and you do have a sort of team, something like this that you'd go on a wild card anyway, and you free hit in 33, 34 then doesn't look so nice. You have Palace v Arsenal, City versus Villa, Liverpool v Tottenham, Villa versus Man City. Like, the team suddenly doesn't start to look as nice. Again, like Forest v Brentford's not so easy defensively. Henderson v Arsenal again. Some difficult games that it's not so easy to use to work through that. You'll obviously potentially have a lot of blankers as well, because if Palace do make it through, they will be blanking in 34, and you'll have 3 Palace players from game week 32, and you potentially might have some Nottingham Forest players in preparation ahead of game week 36 or 35. Doubles. The same thing is some of those doubles could go into game week 32 as well. And then if you haven't wildcarded in game week 30, that really makes your plans a lot more difficult. So yeah, this is my sort of wildcard draft. Those are my thoughts. I'll finish quickly just on a little bit on chip strategy about what I think going forwards. I would obviously look to free hit in 34. And then in sort of 35, 36, if Nottingham Forest do make it through, they won't be doubling in game week 33, given their fixtures already on a Tuesday. So it's unlikely that they're going to put in another midweek game for them. Or maybe it's a Monday night in England. But yeah, unlikely that they'll have sort of 2 midweek games when they already have a late game in 33. So it's likely that double maybe comes into 32 or goes to 36. If it does go to 36, I'd look to make a couple of free transfers over that time to bring in some of those players. This is obviously reliant on how the FA Cup matches go, whether we sort of see it. Whether we see Palace making it through is quite a big deal. Bournemouth versus Man City is obviously a big game. And then, of course, Forest v Brighton is just a bit of an interesting one because our picks could change quite easily with those ones. So I will give you another update after that. Please, if you have enjoyed this video, remember to subscribe to the channel, hit that like button. It does make a real difference to my channel. It's only a small thing, but it really does help massively for me. So I would really appreciate it if you do enjoy this content. Once again, I hope you guys have had a fantastic game week 29. I hope all my tips came in well. I think there was quite a few Ilangas, Milenkovic shout-outs that have gone well that we recommended on the live stream. So I hope everything's gone well for you guys. Have a great couple of weeks. Looking forward to the FA Cup games. Looking forward to the Carabao Cup final today. And I will see you guys shortly for some more videos. Have a great week, guys. This has been your English Aussie, and I'll catch you later.